Hey, have you ever been told you're too sensitive or that you cry way too easily? Well, if that sounds familiar, this one is definitely for you. Today, we're going to unpack the real science and psychology behind what it means to be highly sensitive and, get this, why it might actually be a hidden superpower.
I wanted to start with this quote because, man, it just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? For years, maybe your whole life, you've been made to feel like your tears are some kind of flaw. But what if they're not? What if they're actually a sign that your emotional system is working perfectly? All right, first things first, let's just blow up the biggest myth out there. This idea that being sensitive is the same thing as being weak. Our culture tends to celebrate the person with the clenched jaw, the one who never breaks. But as we're about to see, psychology tells a completely different story. And this is where you can see the huge disconnect. Society might look at crying and see a lack of control, but the psychological reality, it's the exact opposite. It's not instability, it's your body's way of regulating your emotions. It's not about losing control, it's about restoring it, honestly, and right in the moment. Okay, so let's get into the science of how this actually works. Because it turns out this isn't just about feelings. Nope, this is about your brain's actual hardware. The brains of highly sensitive people are fundamentally wired to process the world in, well, much higher detail.
I absolutely love this way of thinking about it. Your brain is working in 8K. Most brains, right, they're in standard def. They're efficient, they filter out a ton of stuff they think is irrelevant just to save energy. But a highly sensitive brain, it processes everything. The slight change in tone in someone's voice, the mood of a room, it's not a flaw. It's just a higher resolution perception of reality. And get this isn't some super rare personality quirk. Neuroscientists have actually identified this trait. It's called sensory processing sensitivity in about 15 to 20% of the population. That's a huge chunk of people. This is a real, naturally occurring biological variation. So, what's going on under the hood? Well, it pretty much boils down to three key things. First, you've got something called low latent inhibition. All that really means is your brain's natural spam filter is turned way down. You notice everything. Second, your mirror neurons, the brain cells that help us feel what other people are feeling, yours are on overdrive, so you don't just see sadness in someone, you can physically feel it. And finally, depth of processing. You don't just take in new information, you connect it to this huge web of everything you've ever experienced and what might happen next. People call it overthinking, but really, it's more like high-level supercomputing. So, okay, high-res processing, but how does that lead to tears? Well, this is where it gets really cool. This is where we see that sensitivity can transform into a kind of psychological superpower, and tears are the critical release valve. It's a simple question, but the answer is fascinating. I mean, think about it. Humans are the only species on Earth that cry emotional tears. Nature literally built us this way for a reason. Crying isn't a bug in the system, people. It's a feature, and it's designed for balance. So here's what happens. It's like a biological reset. First, your system gets flooded with stress. All that 8K data is pouring in. Then the tears come, and those tears are literally carrying stress hormones out of your body. This kicks your body's calming system into gear, your heart rate slows down, and you start to feel balanced again. See, you're not losing control. Your body is hitting the reset button to regain control. A really great way to think about this is emotional sweating, especially when you cry because you're angry or frustrated. You'd never look at a marathon runner sweating and call it weakness, right? Of course not. It's proof they're working hard. Well, it's the exact same idea here. Your system is running so hot with passion and care that it has to cool itself down to keep from overheating. And that just brings us to this idea, which reframes the whole experience perfectly. It's not about being broken. It's about being so plugged into the world, so alive to its beauty and its pain, that your body just has to respond. You're not falling apart, you're refusing to go numb. And here's the kicker. The very same system that produces the tears, it's also producing all these incredible strengths. Because you feel everything so deeply, you naturally have more empathy, you form deeper connections with people, you have this profound self-awareness. And all of this makes you more resilient in the long run, not less, because you're actually dealing with your emotions instead of just bottling them up. All right, let's bring this all home. How do you live with this trait in a world that, let's be honest, often feels like it was built for a different kind of person? A world built for warriors, when you might be the royal advisor. This brings us to this beautiful metaphor. Are you an orchid or a dandelion? Now, most people are like dandelions. They're tough, they're resilient, they can grow pretty much anywhere. But a highly sensitive person, you're more like an orchid.
And if you put an orchid in a harsh, neglected environment, yeah, it's going to wither. But, and this is the most important part, put that orchid in the right environment, a greenhouse you build for yourself, and you don't just survive. Oh no, you bloom with a kind of complexity and beauty the dandelion could never even dream of.
And that right there is the big takeaway. Stop trying to toughen up. Stop trying to turn yourself into a dandelion. Your sensitivity is your gift. The real work isn't about building thicker skin. It's about building a life, your own personal greenhouse, that actually supports and honors who you are. So I want to leave you with this final thought, this question really. We live in a world that is obsessed with armor, with pretending that we're not affected by anything. In a world like that, isn't staying soft, staying open to feeling everything, isn't that the bravest thing you can possibly do? Your tears aren't a flaw. They're proof that you are fully, completely, and unapologetically alive.